Welcome into another episode of the Radioactive Paper Cuts podcast. We're doing another Radioactive review, and today we're going to be covering DC's Peacemaker. And to the much love of everyone, as a viewer, they did 3 episodes, but as a content creator, it drives me nuts. Joining me today is my good friend who has not made an appearance on the podcast yet, even though we've already done an interview. Is Noah King Bates. Welcome in, sir.
Hello. Nice to see everyone. I mean, hopefully you will see me multiple times into the future, but it's good to be here.
Yeah, you want give us some of your nerd creds real quick, and then we'll get moving here.
Oh my goodness! I'm a cosplayer. I'm a nerdcore rapper. I was thrown in trash cans as a kid, so my nerd credentials are pretty high. You know,
I'm that trash can. I almost got shoved in a locker once. That's my caveat there. Just the one time. I was too fat to fit. Moving on. All right, so like I said, we got a fun 3-episode premiere. Let's just start there. What is your opinion on these streaming services starting with 2-3 episodes to kind of kick it off? Is it a smart move on their part? What do you think they do, more or less? What's your opinion on it?
I do like the two episodes. 3 was like great, but now like having as much story that was just told, and then having to wait a week, or 2 is like it's like that great taste.
Sweet spot. I think 2 is the sweet spot, and people need to take note of that. That's my personal opinion. Because it's just like you get to watch the initial intro, and then you kind of go a little further into the story on the second one. But as soon as you throw a third one in there, it just doesn't seem like it's necessary. But before we go into the actual episode details, what did you expect from this show or this character prior to watching anything?
So I guess going in pseudo blind, I would have expected it to just very much be like a Deadpool-esque type ripoff. Like
yeah, I got a note here saying that.
Yeah, like DC's version of that.
Yeah, that's I literally put DC's Deadpool ? Because that's kind of what they're shooting for here. And I don't mind it too much. I mean, he's not too similar to the Deadpool character. They kind of did it with Harley Quinn too, so it almost feels like putting a hat on a hat, trying to do the same thing for another character. But I think we've talked about this briefly, but not on camera. The casting, we got John Cena as a professional actor now. What you think of that? Because I was a big wrestling kid growing up, so
same. I've been learning that wrestlers make really good superheroes because the amount of charisma you have to say some of the things you say in the squares ring.
You smell what the Rock is cooking. Right. You know how dumb that is in retrospect.
But he can do it. He has that charisma, which, it takes a certain level of acting and it takes a certain level of sportsmanship to do all the stuff that they do and to be an action hero. So that's why The Rock is doing so well. That's why John Cena does so well. That's why, sadly, Batista keeps getting work.
I like Batista as Drax. He's fantastic.
He's fantastic because he's a lovable idiot, not because he's a good actor.
True. Facts on facts there. Yeah, it's really cool seeing John Cena. Eventually my younger brother is going to join us on here, and he was a diehard John Cena fan, so he'll be able to give us some more WWE background. But I think that about kind of covers going into it. So let's just hop into episode 1. A whole new world, spelled WHIRLED. I don't know why they spelled it that way though. Is there real context for that?
No, there's at least no comic book context from my end.
Yeah. Okay. First off, we might as well just talk about this funny intro. What is it, the dance?
I loved it. Once. Mob and the straight faces, like
yeah, the straight face. Can't do that with smiles. It doesn't work.
James Gunn I will give James Gunn this. He has a way of like turning your expectations and flipping it in such a weird way. And he loves starting stuff out with dances. We saw it in Guardians 1 and 2, and now in Peacemaker.
Yeah, he's a smart guy. Not everyone's a big fan of his style, but you can't deny the guy's talented at making movies. So we essentially this show picks up after the funny intro, just where we left him off at the end of Suicide Squad, And just little tangent, a couple minutes here. What did you think of the Suicide Squad reboot?
So I very much enjoyed the Suicide Squad. Again, my thoughts on James Gunn's directing and tone aside, I really enjoyed what he did with the Suicide Squad. I thought making them a ragtag group of ne'er-do-wells, but he just did it in the Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, that being said, allowing it to be rated R, allowing it to get those curse words, that the griminess, the blood, the viscera,
the
gore, which is what the Suicide Squad is. They have bombs planted in their necks. They like one of them dies in like almost every issue. Like that is a key component. Their thing. So I thought that was so amazing. And it took a little while for that bit of the Suicide Squad to bleed into Peacemaker because, it starts off with him waking up and the conversation, which I loved.
I want to touch on the janitor conversation so bad.
It's beautifully done. But yeah, they ease into the violence of Peacemaker a little bit. But what I thought was good. They kind of let us figure out who he is as a person before we got back to what he's good at, which is killing.
Yep. I thought it was smart to use a couple clips from the Suicide Squad movie for those like casual fans maybe that were like vaguely remembered him but don't remember what happened in the movie, bringing it back, kind of giving everyone context of what he's doing there. The janitor conversation is money. It starts off as him thinking he was trying to buy weed, but he's not trying to buy weed. He's asking if he's cool. He's not cool.
He's not cool. He's like, why would you ask me this? Why? And it's a small moment that really fleshes out this new kind of DC world where everyone's not like superheroes and supervillains are known, but it's become regular life. Yes. Like it's very like, it's not a conversational piece like in Avengers where it's like, have you heard of the Avengers? It's like, oh yeah, Batman broke another dude's leg. Typical Thursday.
So an already established universe. It's a good way to do it and to take advantage of like iffy movies. Some of them are okay. Some of them are pretty terrible, but like just putting them in the same universe instead of doing what they do in the comic books all the time and just rebooting everything every 10 years. I'm glad they kind of embrace the history of the DCEU, but not make it like a forefront and it's going to happen with crossovers and things along those lines. It's just acknowledging other heroes exist, villains exist, and crazy shit happens in this universe. So that's just how life goes. The janitor calling Peacemaker racist for his what did he call it? Oh God, his gross non-white ratio for how many people he's killed. So freaking funny, and it's it makes a lot of sense a little bit later why like they're kind of under that impression because his dad is like essentially a neo-Nazi.
There's no essential about it. The White Dragon, which they call him. I mean, we'll talk about it a little bit later on.
Yeah, it's a later episode. But.
Yeah, he is a prominent neo-Nazi in the comic books. There's been multiple people who've taken on the mantle, and never his dad per se. But I mean, just the way that they're playing up his dad and that he's giving all the energy of the White Dragon. So it's like, it makes sense that his dad, who's made his helmet, made all of his gear and shit like that, would tell him to go on these very specific missions towards non-white people.
Right. Yeah. And he's like, yeah, you kill a couple of, well, he says all the expletives, obviously. Yeah. So he's like, as long as you're using the helmet for that, he's making it making sure Peacemaker knows he doesn't think about him and things along those lines. He's going tough love and all that nonsense that goes on with that stuff. But we get introduced to Eagly, the Eagle sidekick.
I love Eagly so much.
He's the best. That was just such a funny, and like I don't even know if that's comic book accurate or if they're just like, it would be funny if this guy had like a Freedom Eagle mascot that just helped him out with stuff, but whatever it is.
I mean, the hug is just so beautiful. Just when the eagle is hugging him, it's so good.
Yeah, we kind of glossed over it, but he did escape the hospital, and he thinks he got away with only 4 years of his 30-year sentence, and then he goes and picks up his eagle in his car. And he goes home, and who does he get faced with? But Amanda Waller's secret group. I don't think they have a name, but they're
No.
kind of like her B team, I suppose. Gave me a little bit of like an Agents of Shield vibe, but like rated R. That's kind
Yeah.
of what I was getting from the whole thing. And they're led by Clemson Mern. Do you know anything about any of these characters, or are they kind of just creations of James Gunn?
I believe the creation of James Gunn, especially. I haven't heard anything. Then again, I've only read New 52 Amanda Waller, but the secret reveal of like that being her daughter, like
That was great. I did not see that coming at all. Yeah. What's her name? Leota Adebayo is Amanda Waller's daughter. So yeah, very smart move. I love the dynamic of that team that they kind of put together there. It's not too many people. It doesn't feel overbearing. But you got the leader, you got the hard ass, and Amelia Harcourt, and then the tech guy, Diebeard Economos.
Economos.
Yeah, it was fantastic. The Diebeard jokes for days.
And I do very much enjoy the fact that James Gunn is giving these side characters able to grow. Because usually in movies, we only get growth in the main heroes. We only get growth in the superheroes or the supervillains. We never get growth like Hardcore and Economos. They were in the Suicide Squad for a good chunk of the movie. True. They had lines, they went back and forth, they had relationships with other people. So to see that growth on the other side is really amazing. So I have to give thumbs up on that. And that's one time that I enjoy when they do spin-off TV shows that still connect and feel like part of the movies. Because then you get that growth, and then the next time we see them in a movie, if we do see them in like the Suicide Squad 2 or whatever, and they come back, we get that like, oh, they've been through this much, and that's why they're this way and stuff like that, compared to just having to guess it.
Yeah, and Marvel's done it a couple times on their TV shows now, where we got Darcy and what's the other agent's name?
Jimmy Woo.
Jimmy Woo. Yeah, they were fun additions for shows like that. So it just universe building, I appreciated, and I can't say there was much of anything that I disliked about this show. It was just a fun time. I don't think it's meant to be taken as serious comic lore. Everything's accurate to this or that. It's more like everyone's having fun, dropping F-bombs and blowing shit up. That's just life.
The real HBO Max way.
I love HBO Max. I've been an HBO guy for quite a while now, and I will sing their praises for days, because just from Game of Thrones, and then they go to other exclusives. I'm even a fan of Titans, and don't think I won't be covering Titans on this channel once they get a new season.
I have so much love, hate, and disappointment in Titans, but it's still a good show. I still want there to be more seasons.
I'm with you. They're going to keep going, and Red Hood's getting his spinoff. And hey, spoiler alert to your interview episode, that's your favorite character, so you get to see your boy.
If only he was a little bit older, but I digress.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, he does feel a little rushed, but it was okay.
Yeah,
it was fine. There was no Ra's al Ghul connection, which was a little bit of a bummer, but superheroes, comic books, all weird stuff. But let's get back to Peacemaker. So after they have their initial meeting, obviously all the good stuff happens, and Peacemaker, they go to that restaurant. I guess we can briefly talk about that.
Yeah.
Funny stuff, just classic characters interacting, making fun of each other. And then Foe got introduced to Vigilante, the secret identity, which was revealed the next episode. So that was fun.
Yeah, and I thought the way that they handled it was really cool. I very much enjoyed it. And it's so interesting to see them use Adrian Chase's Vigilante so soon. I mean, it hasn't been a long time, but I mean, he was a major villain in Arrow.
Yeah. I for some, I didn't even put two and two together. It was the same Adrian Chase, really, because he never played the role of Vigilante in Arrow. I was a big Arrow fan myself. That was kind of one of my main shows that I watched back in the day. I kind of gave up on the DC television stuff over on the CW for the most part since Arrow ended. But yeah, Adrian Chase, completely different take on the character. That's 1,000% sure. I love how he's a geeky, he gives off gamer vibes, but he's just, I love how he kills people for doing graffiti. That's all focused on in the next episode. But to end this episode, Peacemaker shoots his shot at Harcourt at the bar. Obviously, gets shut down. Hooks up with the random chick, the rocker-looking girl.
Yep.
Bad call. Bad call.
The random cut to them just full on having sex.
Full on banging. Yeah, they had no qualms about shooting a John Cena sex scene. They're like, we're doing it.
Also, how often we have now seen him as Peacemaker in his underwear.
I actually super love that he keeps ending up in his tiny whities because I find it so funny. Because his physique is out of this world. Obviously, he's been a WWE superstar forever, so his body doesn't actually make any sense. So they're putting that ridiculous body in a stupid pair of whitey tighties and featuring it prominently. He did that. There's like 2 whole minutes of him dancing in his underwear, and then obviously the knife fight ensues, and he has to fight off. I thought for a moment that because I didn't know she was a butterfly. I got the vibe that it was going to be the orange chick Mongal from the Suicide Squad. I got those vibes for a second there, but clearly
I was trying to think of any type of alien or something like that where I was like, okay, could this be like some type of weird not Targaryen, what Starfire is?
Tamarian.
I was like, are like the Tamaranians? Is it like a white Martian? I was like going through all of the different.
You're going through the
Kryptonian. Yeah, Cadmus. Like I was, and then there's like the butterflies. I was like, okay, hopefully you explain that more.
Butterflies, are they new? I'm a huge DC fan, but like my comic book, what I read every single month when an issue comes out is almost exclusively in the Bat family. So once you get outside of Bat family, like I know all the other characters, but once you start doing like super deep cuts, like are butterflies an organization or villain in the comics? Because I don't think so.
Again, like I was like going through my knowledge because I am very Bat family oriented as well. I do dip into Suicide Squad, and I really like rogues in general. So
I like Justice League Dark. That's what I think. That's my niche within the niche of DC Comics. So like, okay, I'll read Justice League Dark.
Yeah, for me, I really enjoy those obscure ones like Justice League 3000 was a really weird one that I loved from New 52.
The other Elseworld stories are also pretty fun.
Yes, but I don't know of any butterflies. But again, I'm very intrigued. I feel like going by what I know, I'm like I feel like it's gonna come around to Cadmus. Like if I'm wrong, I'm willing to be wrong, but I'm putting money on the fact that I think Cadmus is going to have something to do with this.
I wouldn't doubt it. And it's got a similar vibe to just Starro himself. So that could be the connection there, that maybe it's a Cadmus created insect when they were experimenting on Starro. So taking those same abilities, but not putting a starfish on the face, but having a weird bug thing crawl into the person. We'll see. I don't know. We're speculating at this point. Yeah. I'd be pretty pumped if I was right.
Yeah, if I'm right, you boys are gonna be fist bumping all day long. It's like Mephisto, only I'm right.
Mephisto. Yeah, go check out the Marvel Stuff podcast. We comes to the Mephisto. We get into a joke eventually. We're like, you know what? Everything's Mephisto.
Everyone's Mephisto. Spider-Man Mephisto. Made Mephisto.
Exactly. Okay, so he gets in the knife fight with the stupid butterfly lady. They end up outside, and then he gets to his helmet with the sonic boom, and she gets turned into grape jelly, essentially, and leaves a crater in the parking lot.
And then Eagly comes back with a possum or something like that?
Yeah, Eagly drops off a possum trying to help out his boy. I think it was just a nod to stupid cats bringing mice.
Yeah.
Here you go. I got this for you, Dad. You're welcome.
You look like you're hungry here.
Yeah. Well, that's essentially where it ended. Now, that I think specifically the way they ended number 1 is the reason why they should do a 2-episode premiere. Because episode 1 was fun in itself. A lot of introductory building work had to go into it. But how did you feel about your first episode of Peacemaker?
See, the way that you just said that makes perfect sense. Like the first episode of anything of just regular TV is build up. Like it's introducing you to characters and stuff like that. And in the grand scheme of things, yeah, that's really cool. And you want to learn more about the characters. But at the same time, it's kind of boring. Yeah. And I do this like with anime. Like I can't watch the first couple of episodes of like an anime. I have to just skip and then just kind of fill myself in because sometimes it's just too slow for me. And that's why I like 2-episode intros. That's why I like the build up episode, the learning about everyone, and then immediately it goes into
more of a plot
the
driven
world.
episode. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. And I agree. Even in this case, like I said, I think episode 3 was unnecessary. They could have turned that into a regularly scheduled program and do it week by week. But I digress. They did it the way they did it, and we're covering it. So hey, we'll get
into the fight.
Huh?
What'd you think of the fight? Like the knife fight?
The knife fight. It was pretty cool. I enjoy. I mean, John Cena. He's been a wrestler for so long, so he's a master at taking bumps. He's a master at throwing his body into walls and stuff. Like I'm sure a lot of those. Like I'm pretty sure he's gonna do at least 90% of his stunts because he's just built for that type of thing. So that's one thing that I appreciate and I'm looking forward to throughout this show because you can cut it any way you want it. Obviously, wrestling's fake, but those guys are athletic performers. They know what they're doing. 1,000%. If an inexperienced person gets in the ring, they're probably going to break their neck. That's just how these things go. I enjoyed the fight quite a bit. What about yourself?
I enjoyed it, and I 100% believe that. Like, yeah, wrestling is like I always say, the matches themselves are fake, but the actions they're doing are real. Like,
right,
they're jumping off of stuff, they're hitting the ground. Like, yeah, it's a trampoline-esque type mat, but they're still putting themselves in danger.
Doesn't feel good.
Yeah, it takes a lot of skill, and I enjoy it. I thought it was really cool and fast paced. I do hope that we do more of the kind of action that was in the Suicide Squad when him and Bloodsport were doing the little macho man who can kill better.
Oh my god, thing. That was genuinely probably the best part of that entire movie is them taking out that entire village thinking they were enemies and trying to outdo each other, and then turns out it's the Allies. It's just premium content right there.
So I really do hope that we kind of get more of that because it's like the fight was good, but it also seemed kind of shaky.
Yeah, a little shaky, and then like the powers obviously aren't really defined of what butterflies are. Like, how superhuman are they? Clearly, she was stronger than the average, woman, or at least how she looked. But we don't know to what bounds these characters kind of make. And to my knowledge, I mean, Peacemaker doesn't have actual superpowers unless there's some weird version of him that does. But in this universe, he's just a super trained assassin type. So
yeah, and his helmets give him some kind of ability.
Right, like an advantage. Yeah, kind of like a utility belt. I wonder where they got that idea.
Utility helmet.
Yeah, the fight was fine. I agree with you. I do want to see some more high octane stuff, more gunfights type of deal. But we got plenty of episodes left. I think, is this an 8 or 10? I don't remember exactly, but
I feel like it's an 8, but I could be wrong.
That's another thing about the 3-episode thing. Why would you start with 3 episodes at once and then only have 5 more episodes? That just seems counterintuitive.
Yeah.
Can't let it go. I already said I digressed twice on it. I'm big mad. No, I had not to get too far off topic, but also on this channel, we covered The Witcher, and I was mad frustrated that I had to cover the entire season 2 within 2 weeks and doing just 4 episodes in 2 weeks. It was a lot, man, but whatever. Let's go back. Episode 2, Best Friends for Never. I love this episode. It was so funny because Vigilante really gets to bring it in. That's quite a bit later, though. What did you think of this, the intro to this episode where it was the rescue mission? Because it took a while.
It did.
Yeah,
because I think they really didn't know how much time they wanted on it, because you're right. It like he went up to a different floor. He kidnapped.
I loved the vinyl records and the knicknacks thing. He's like, oh yeah, this is for sure. That was hilarious. That was classic, just super funny stuff. But yeah, after that point, it's like the police show up, and all of a sudden he's stuck in an apartment building, and that scene dragged on for quite a while. Harcourt and Adebayo show up eventually because they got. I don't know. They got like a notification of some sort that he was in trouble. I don't know if he called.
He called Harcourt.
That's what it was. Yeah, that's what it was.
And she
Called her
was
in the middle of the
tracking
night.
his chip. Yeah.
Exactly. But yeah, they're showing up to save him, but the scene itself takes quite a while. He goes up to the thing. He breaks into an apartment with that
With the couple.
Yeah, I don't know if there's still a couple at the end of the episode.
Oh, fair. I did enjoy, like, it was a really funny scene, and it brought me back into it because I started to lose interest, like with everyone going up to the different floors and doing all that. So I was like,
that's been done a million times. So
Yeah,
that's
I was like-
why. Yeah, the apartment going in, and like it almost felt realistic. Like, how would you actually act if somebody kind of broke into your apartment and dropped vinyl records? It's like that reaction's probably pretty similar to how most people would react. What are you doing here, man?
And John Cena then like flirting with the girlfriend, and the girlfriend flirting back, and him getting mad. Like,
some beta male bullshit. Yeah, he ties them up with yarn and just takes forever. He makes him clean up the records and the knickknacks 2 or 3 times. Just absolutely ridiculous stuff. And the cops are doing their cop things and trying to track him down. And then we go to Harcourt and Adebayo. Gotta want to get it right eventually. Good stuff. The rescue obviously eventually happens. Him jumping from balcony to balcony, just straight up dislocating that shoulder multiple times that he was told not to hit on things. How did you feel about kind of the close to that scene? Because, like we said, went on for a while.
It did go on for a while, and the part that kind of got me was like when she like looked over, and it was like, oh, he's like nowhere to be seen. I was like, oh yeah, he got away, because like that's just kind of what happens in superhero or like spy movies. Like, yeah, they get away, and then it showed that he was still under there. I was like, oh, okay. And then he did the jump back and like down. I was like, oh, you guys are showing us every moment.
I know. I think I appreciate it just because it takes almost a slightly realistic feel to the whole superhero idea of it all. It's like, how would a guy that doesn't have powers actually get down from like a 7th story apartment? And now we know.
Especially when you don't have a cape or special gadgets. Like, he's just jumping and landing.
Yep. And just keeps flopping like a penguin. Anyway, yeah. So that was a fun scene. The cops show up, Harcourt makes the save, and yippee, skippy, everybody's happy. We get to kind of regroup. The group did have the foresight to kind of make sure that his car was registered to someone else, and Diebeard made the decision to register it in the father's name. And Mern was not happy. Mern was not happy about that because it was stupid.
But do you also think Mern knows about the dad's
history, the criminal history? I think so, but he had other ways he could have done it, because immediately the dad doesn't even try and like stick up for his son. He's like, oh, that's my kid's car. Immediately throws his kid under the bus, and then is super racist again to the cops, like, oh, you're a lady and you're Asian. And he calls her like chopstick or something. It's like, yeah. She calls him as a rebuttal. That was ridiculous. He should have gone with spoon. That second cop, he's I used to watch Riverdale for a while, and he was like Eddie's dad. I was like,
he was the first killer.
When Riverdale was good, it started to turn into a weird teenage sex show. So I stopped watching. Well, the first couple seasons were pretty good. I liked the whole idea of the Archie comics solving a murder mystery type of deal.
Oh, yeah.
Good stuff. Regroup. Then they find out how Peacemaker left the dossier on the bed, and the stinking butterfly lady reads over it. So everybody in the group's pissed at him. He's sad, and he lays down and he's crying to himself. I love how he self-narrated crying. He's like, this is why no one likes you. You're too closed off. Diebeard could be a friend, but you just make fun of him. Good work,
it reminds me of this scene in Reno 911. I don't know if you ever watched Reno 911. So there's a scene where one of the cops, like, they're all in the they're all in like the locker room, and one of them is in the bathroom, and he's saying the exact thing. He's like, "No one likes you. Everyone thinks that you're," and then he walks out, and like they all like hear him and kind of like start walking closer to the door. And then he walks out. He's like, "Hey guys, what's up? Yeah,
What's
you guys
up,
good?" And he's like trying to like put all this happy like face, and they're all like, "No, we're good, man. You good?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm great." But, like, I forgot something in the bathroom, and then he goes back and he's like, "Everybody knows they can all," like he's narrating, but he's being really loud.
That's hilarious. Maybe they took that off of them. Maybe I have no idea how it is, but
Hey, Reno 911 is on HBO Max, so who knows?
maybe I'll jump in there then. But him crying on the bed, he's promptly interrupted by Vigilante himself, who we heard from on his hundreds and hundreds of voicemails in the previous episode, trying to get him to come hang out and fight crime and such. But he is officially introduced. His costume, he kind of stole some ideas from Nightwing. I noticed that while I was watching.
Oh, yeah,
I was like, he's got
the
V with yeah, I mean, kind of a basic design there, so I guess it makes sense. So how do we feel about it? Because now we're really in it. Now Vigilante's truly introduced. We see what type of character he is, and to cheer up his buddy Peacemaker, he gathered appliances to go. It reminded me of the montage from Step Brothers. We're like, "You want to go do karate in the garage?"
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah. Exactly what that is. At the end, do we just become best friends? Yep. Like you see Peacemaker like finally start to like consider he could have a friend. He can have like a guy friend. Like it was really interesting to see that slight growth in him, because up until that point he was very, especially because I think him crying before that is what led to him kind of like understanding like, hey, you were just talking about the fact that you don't have friends, that you're closed off, and I think that's kind of what led to him. I love Vigilante. I really fun thing about they had to reshoot like all of it because they had to change the actor.
You recast him, yeah. I didn't really read into that whole lot. I don't know who was originally cast as that character, but it's weird that they'd have to reshoot a bunch. But this guy did a good job. I enjoyed him.
Oh yeah, he's the right level of like he's truly, if you mix Deadpool and Spider-Man, like Peter Parker together, because he has that nerdiness of Peter when he's like talking and the way he like presents himself, but then he's just Deadpool because he's like, I also just kill people. Like that's kind of my job. That's what I do. And he has a very cheerful. Actually, did you ever watch Rick and Morty?
I did, but I'm going to pause right here. My fan just kicked on in my apartment, so give me a second. I'll edit this out. Give me just a moment.
What are you doing?
Still picking it up a little bit, but I can probably noise cancel or something later. It's fine. Okay. Kick off with asking me, did you watch Rick and Morty? We'll go from there.
Okay. All right. So did you watch Rick and Morty?
I've seen a few episodes. My friends are absolutely in love with it. I do find it funny, but I've never actually adventured through the catalog. So educate me, if you will.
There's a character that your friends and anyone who knows Rick and Morty called Krabopolis Michaels, who's an assassin, and he has this cheerful demeanor, but he's like, oh, there I go killing again, and he's like so happy, but he's just like, it's one of those people who loves their job, and everyone around him just kind of gets that like, oh, you like your job too much, and that's what Vigilante gives us, which I love, and it's a great juxtaposition of Peacemaker, who kills, and he's like, oh yeah, I kill for freedom, I kill because I'm good at it, but you can tell that's not what he wants to do, and you really see it in the third episode when we get the butterflies. But Vigilante loves killing. That's legit what he loves to do. He gets so much joy out of it, and I thought I love seeing that energy and it juxtaposing Peacemaker's loving to kill for peace, but that's not really what he wants to do.
He'll kill any man, woman, or child that will stop him from doing it. Love that line. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. That's a really good point that him and his sidekick kind of do the opposite for each other. One loves to kill, the other one's really good at killing, and that was fun. We get to adventure to that in the third episode where he gets to be the real man and pull the trigger. What else did you have? Anything else you really wanted to cover on this second episode here? I mean, we can kind of. It was funny watching the appliances get blown up, I suppose.
But the one thing that I will say that I enjoy about DC compared to Marvel, or at least just when it comes, is their ability to give us representation without trying.
Yeah, they are better
the
at
fact, it. Yeah, the fact that now I'm blanking on her last name.
Adebayo.
The fact that she's just a lesbian, like it's just in there. They didn't have this weird, oh yeah, this is who I am type thing. She just has her wife.
Yeah,
she moved in with her and stuff like that, and it's. And then yeah, Peacemaker kind of makes a note about it, but again, it's very quick and it's in his character. It's not like they needed a reason. It's just, and it's a very quick one. Like, oh snap, good on you. And
I even appreciated that. I appreciated that they faux set it up in the first episode right after he meets them. She says, or he asks if she's hubbed up, and she just like replies with, "Yeah, I'm married." And it's not so much a draw, which is appreciated, where it's like you don't have to acknowledge every one of these things because that's just human. That's humanity. People are different, and I don't know. You don't always need to call it out so prominently because it's just not necessary. It's part of that character. It's part of their person. And it's in the show, but it's not in your face because it doesn't have to be because everybody's who they are. It's weird that you focus on little things like that because representation, probably the most important thing you can do within TV shows. But when you just are like right up in your face about it, like this is who I am, and then just super graphic sex scenes and things like that, that it's like featuring those type of scenarios. It's not ideal. Marvel's getting a little better at it. I enjoyed Fastos in Eternals. That one was one that didn't feel forced at all. It was just kind of within his character. Married to a Man, has an adopted son. I appreciated it. Good stuff. I think we're stuck. Okay, we're stuck.
And I mean, again, it's like as long as the character, like if they had a Batwoman show, with Peacemaker, and she had a sex scene with her girlfriend Montoya, then it'd be like,
yeah, we're having some connection here, so let's see if that fixes it. I don't know if that's on your end or my end. Seems to be doing better now. How are you doing on your end?
Okay. Fine. I could hear you at times. You seemed a little laggy, but your voice was coming in at the right
points. Gotcha. An idea. You want to shut your camera off for this last episode portion, because sometimes that can help. I've had that happen before, where if you turn that off, I'll try and talk a bit. You want to talk a bit?
Okay. Yeah.
Does that work?
but yeah, like if they were to do, how's this?
Yeah, it seems better. Just start with your inclusion speech, because right after I finished my point is when you started lagging out on my end.
Okay. So yeah, I the Fastos thing is great, and I enjoy it. And as for like gratuitous and stuff like that, as long as it's a story, it's in the realm of the story being told, then that's like fine. Again, if they do like a Batwoman show, or even if they did a Midnighter and I can't remember his husband's name.
Oh man, I know exactly who you're talking about. A Moon
something. Apollo. Midnighter and Apollo.
Thank you. Yes. I love that. That couple is actually super fun.
Yeah, as long as it's not gratuitous to just be in your face, And with Peacemaker, yeah, we had that sex scene, but that's kind of in the realm of the character. It's not out of the ordinary for someone who's been in prison, who is as outlandish as Peacemaker is, to not just bring home a random bar broad.
Yeah, because that's exactly what he would do. So yeah, good on him. Like you said, yeah, DC's killing the game as far as representation is concerned, especially in their TV shows. Not sure if you're up on Batwoman, but I've watched the first 2 seasons of that, and then I started season 3. I enjoyed that quite a bit. Are you up on that one?
I really want to be, because I love Batwing.
I was just going to tell you,
Luke
he's
Fox.
a really cool character.
I love Luke. I love his brother.
Jace,
Batman.
yeah.
Yeah. But even when it was Ruby Rose and it was Katie Kane, like I couldn't get behind it. There was just something about it. I just couldn't. Maybe I'll give it another shot. I did enjoy the little bit in which the Crisis on Infinite Earth, so maybe we'll get there. I don't know, but the representation in all the CW shows. I mean, yeah, Flash kind of went off the kilter, but I mean, even from like each season has had so much representation, and Supergirl has transgender people in it. Like it gets really well focused on.
Yeah, I have never been up on Supergirl, but I did see that representation's included over there, and yeah, just the CW's made plenty of mistakes in the last couple of years, but that I would definitely never take their representation away from them. I know in the new season of Batwoman, spoiler to those that are not caught up on it, including myself, because I saw this by chance, but they're doing like a Black Joker version of Joker. It's not the Joker himself, but
okay.
I won't spoil who it is, but he's introduced pretty early on in season 3, and his character's been cool so far. So I'm actually excited to jump back into that show and see how they play it off and make him into a true Joker-esque character.
I want Lakeith Stanfield to be Joker in the Batman universe.
I don't truthfully know who that is, and maybe that makes me a jerk.
No. I'm trying to think. Like, he was in Sorry to Bother You. He's in the show Atlanta.
Atlanta's on my list. I told you on your interview episode that's going to be recorded or going to be dropped after this episode, because this episode's coming out on Tuesday the 7th or the 18th. But yeah, Atlanta, I'm excited to watch that one. So maybe I'll see what you're talking about.
Yes, you will definitely see it in Atlanta.
Yeah, no, a little bit unrelated, but kind of related. Spotify's doing a Batman audio drama, and then they got Winston Duke, who played M'Baku from Black Panther, and he's doing the voice of Bruce Wayne's Batman, which is going to be really cool because I loved him in Black Panther.
I know. I am so excited for that. I've known about that for a hot second. And
yeah, it's not super new news, but I haven't got to talk about it at all yet. So there we go. Yeah, killing the game over there. That's something that DC's really embraced. They do podcasts and stuff with HBO Max. There's a Peacemaker podcast, and I haven't listened to it yet because I don't want it to really interfere with what I say on my podcast. But maybe once I'm done watching the show, I'll give it a listen.
Oh yeah.
All right, one final episode, the unnecessary episode, as I like to put it. It's called Better Goff Dead, and it's just essentially a play off of the congressman's last name, as he is a butterfly. We kind of start out with this episode. We get introduced to, not introduced, but we get a shot of Judo Master. Now, do you know anything about this guy? Because he seems Z tier to me. I have no idea who he is.
Here's the thing. He's so Z tier. When I saw him, I was like, why is the TDK in Peacemaker? He died. Because his costume looked exactly like the detachable kid.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, he's much shorter, obviously.
Yeah, but I mean, from like and it wasn't until like the second time I watched the intro that I realized how short he is compared to everyone else. Because when I first saw him in like just like a picture, I was like, oh, yeah, that's the TDK. Like, what?
Yeah. You know what they should have done, now that I can say in retrospect, because we already have WWE superstars, just get Rey Mysterio to play Judo Master, and that would have been hype.
Oh, God, I would have been so happy.
That would have been sick. I don't know if he acts or anything, but I would stand that personally.
See, DC needs to just be like, all
Call
right,
me.
we're just
That's what they do.
they're gonna start doing it, and like Roman Reigns is gonna play Lobo. They're just gonna start getting
Yeah, they're just gonna be like, okay, we need to recreate The Rock as often as possible. Who is our star right now? Can he act a little? Yes. Okay. That's gonna be a superhero role.
Here, let's put some spandex on. Let's go.
Yep. So we this entire episode kind of takes place over a stakeout at the congressman's house, and it starts out with Peacemaker having a gun that doesn't have the dove of peace embossed on the gun, which was a big deal to him apparently. And
which makes me not want to go back to the Suicide Squad and see if all of his weapons have it.
Yeah, because they probably don't, to be entirely realistic. So, yeah, probably just hurted our feelings to realize it was all a lie. But he doesn't fire upon the wife and kids and husband because they're speculative butterflies and not actual butterflies at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of puts a little bit of a chink within Peacemaker's armor, I would say.
Oh, 100%. I think that, like what I was saying earlier, is just like it shows that he might be good at killing, but he still has morals. We might not talk like he might not openly admit it, but he has morals. He has boundaries. He will not cross, even though they joke about it. Like you said, every man, woman, and child for peace, but that's just a saying to him. Like he didn't think that he'd actually have to do it.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. And I think that's a good thing to kind of introduce to the character, because if he was 100% the same guy he was in the Suicide Squad, then this show might not have as much depth. So fun stuff. The stakeout kind of starts out and Peacemaker gets a little bit of some light flirting with Harcourt.
Mm-hmm.
Them sharing their trail mix and the empty carbs and all that nonsense. Funny stuff. I think some of the best parts of this show are just the little conversations that they include that 100% seem like they could be cut because they're not necessary to the plot at all, but they just leave them in. That's like James Gunn's style. He's like, how can we make this conversation realistic and hilarious?
Yeah, it's improv done right. Like the Bernstein Bears.
I was just going to touch on that. I loved that, the Mandela effect. They just like, you know what? We're going to talk about that too because it's funny. Now, were you one of the people that thought it was Berenstein? Because I personally did. I thought it was Bernstein Bears, and then I found out later it was the Berenstain Bears.
Oh yeah, I was a Berenstein Bear for a while, and yeah, I have so much. There's so much about the Berenstain Bears that I like. When they were saying the names as he was like shooting them. Is that their actual names? Because even to this day, I always just thought their names were Brother Bear and Sister Bear. Because you never hear them called anything else.
That's a good point. We're going to have to do a deep dive on the Berenstain Bears and find out, because I have no idea.
Because even in the old show, that like the people in their school would be like, oh yeah, Brother Bear or Sister. Like they wouldn't call them like Boston or like
Susie Bear and what did they say?
Yeah, Susie Bear.
Billy Bear, I think.
Yeah. And even like Mama Bear and Papa Bear, they don't have names, even by other adults.
That's very Fairly Odd Parents did the same thing with Timmy's dad and Timmy's mom.
Yeah.
Love it. Yep. In the Bernstein, just more stuff about just kind of giving the characters a little bit of depth and how they have a little bit of rapport within their group. Much appreciated. I even like how Mern jumps in and says his opinion on it too. It's like, okay, this guy, he's also a character. We can't forget about him. Do you think he's going to be featured a little more prominently, or are we gonna lose him?
I think he has something to do with the butterflies, and the way that he carries himself. I'm just like, oh, you're a butterfly. You just don't want anyone to know.
Oh, you think he's a butterfly? That's some deep cuts. Maybe
the way he it's very. He's like new Amanda Waller because they probably couldn't get Viola Davis to be in all the episodes.
Well, they got her to reprise the role for a video call.
Right, but He's that kind of sketchy, and I mean, even Amanda Waller in the 2 times that we've gotten her has this double cross like thing about her. So I feel like he's like, oh yeah, we got to get rid of all the other butterflies, but I'm fine because I work for us, so I'm good. So
it's a good point. That's some deep cut stuff. Could be Amanda Waller controlling him because she has control of the newer butterflies.
Yeah, and the fact that like we see them do the whole like I don't like when they first get into their house and they lose all emotion and they kind of like go off. And he had that conversation with Diebeard, and he's like, "Yeah, I don't show emotion. I don't have feelings and stuff like that." That was like I was like, okay. So even if he's not like a butterfly, I would be intrigued if he's just a regular human. I would be very intrigued if he's just some dude.
Something's definitely a little bit off about him. I will definitely give you that. And okay, so we get Vigilante back. He ruins the moment between Harcourt and Peacemaker, of course, cockblocking his friend unintentionally. Major bummer. And then, yes, we get to see Vigilante take on the role of assassin that he's been talk about. He talks about killing people all the time, but I think this is the first time we actually see him pull the trigger on some people. And he seems to be having a great time. Yeah, because Peacemaker,
he's like
he
singing or humming or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah. Peacemaker pansied out, and yeah, Vigilante takes the gun, kills the 3, and of course, then enter Judo Master and stops him from killing the Goth himself. And he puts a beat down on our heroes. Funny stuff. It did remind me of very WWE like Rey Mysterio when he'd be in matches with like the Great Khali or like Big Show.
Yeah, and he's just like climbing on them and like flipping and Hurricanrana every 20
Hurricanrana all the time. Great stuff. And I enjoy Judo Master.
Good stuff. I enjoy even like his little conversation with the like Cheetos. Like every character, yeah, some of them are funny, but Goff isn't funny, and I find him just as entertaining. And Murr isn't funny, but I find him just as entertaining. Like not everyone has to have a punchline. Not everyone has to be comedic relief.
Yeah, that's I mean, that's an old comedy thing. It's like you always need someone to play the straight man. You're not gonna be the one that gets critically acclaimed or beloved by all, but without you playing the straight man, then the clown doesn't really get much love.
Mm-hmm.
Classic comedy stuff right there. Judo Master stops the thing, whoops everyone's ass, and then we get to the torture scene, which was so funny. The Vigilante gets hooked up to some plier, like a car battery hooked up to his nuts. Gets zapped and just I don't know. That whole scene was funny. What did you think about it?
I loved it. I loved the fact that he kept going back to Vigilante. And I'm like, why? Why are you doing this? Like, oh, well, clearly he's the one with information and he cares about you. Which again says something.
Yeah. Peacemaker's like, oh yeah, I'll never give him anything.
Like you can give him something.
Just a little something. Yeah. Good stuff. That torture scene made me super happy. That's probably one of the hardest I laughed while watching the show. And then Judo Master with this stupid flaming hot Cheetos. We skipped over that real quick. How he's eating them and he's like, you want some? Oh, okay. And then he just starts beating on throwing flaming hot Cheetos at his face. Yeah, and we all know how it ends. Obviously, if you're listening to this podcast, spoilers, so you know how everything goes from here. The crew comes from the spy van. They come and invade the basement, and Peacemaker gets to pull the trigger on Goff, proving that he can still kill when necessary. So that was an important note there. We, I guess, kind of skipped over at the end of the last episode. His dad was revealed to be the White Dragon. We touched on that. That prison scene was a little weird. I was on board for it. And that kind of wraps up the first 3 episodes here. What do you got to say here, Noah? Am I missing some things? What else did you love? What are we looking forward to?
No, I did like the. I'm intrigued on where the White Dragon storyline is gonna go. Like, I love Peacemaker and the Butterflies, but I'm also a really big fan of B plots. I always love that like random plot where like I wonder where this is gonna like lead to, because we already kind of know the grand scope of like a hero's journey, and that's probably what Peacemaker is gonna go on. But like this whole dad being a white supremacist gang cult leader inside of prison, I'm like, ooh, that could go anywhere.
Yeah. Eventually, imagine it's going to lead to him being him escaping from prison and maybe donning the costume. I don't know if he'll get to be featured as an actual adversary within this show, or if that's going to be like a jump off point for season 2. I don't even know if this show's confirmed for a season 2 or if this is a limited series. I don't really know how that's going to work, but I'm intrigued to say the least.
I feel like there's a. I know he's working on another show for DC, like that's already been stated, but I don't know if this is going to get a season 2. I would, with how well it's doing, I would assume so. But again, I'm very big on the fact that HBO Max should utilize Warner Brothers and DC should utilize HBO Max and tell really good limited series that are like pretty much graphic novels. Like to get the Long Halloween live action.
Ooh. Now you're you're singing my tune. I'd be about that life. Some Long Halloween or like Batman Hush. I would be a huge fan of seeing Hush. Or The Killing Joke.
And then we get Jensen Ackles to be Batman for like a 10-episode arc.
Man,
really go into that multiversal thing.
Yeah, he was so fun as the voice for the Long Halloween animated movie. I don't know if you watched that, or it was the 2-part.
Yeah, it was Long Halloween.
Yeah. Good stuff. Love Jensen Ackles. I was a Supernatural kid as well. I've watched quite a lot of that show. I haven't watched the entire thing because it went on for 1,000 years, but good show, good actor. Hope to see more of that. I'm glad we get rated R DC comic book characters. Fun stuff. Props to HBO Max for putting out some really good content. We also got to see The Watchmen. That's a perfect example of killing it with some serious DC characters. Titans is fun. I've enjoyed some of Doom Patrol, so on board. Good job, HBO Max. Noah, any final thoughts? Go ahead.
My final thought is I'm really enjoying. Again, if I ever become famous and I actually have to like sit next to James Gunn, I'll have to be like, dude, I have to give you so much praise on what you've done for DC. What you've done for Marvel is the same thing that Marvel's kind of done. So the fact that you're able to take your style and really revitalize the DCEU is impeccable. I legit can't give him more praise than the fact that he is turning DCEU around almost single-handedly.
Yeah, his story needs to be rated R. So just keep giving him the green light to make rated R content for DC, and I promise you, you're going to see a success rate that you weren't expecting after you put out that trash heap of Joss Whedon's Justice League. Terrible.
Warner Brothers just needs to stop putting their fingers in stuff. Let the director direct.
Yeah, big facts, because all the love to Zack Snyder himself, but he was very limited on what he was allowed to do with those characters. So, R.I.P. to that story on the DCEU. But thank you to James Gunn for giving us some fun content. Noah, I hope to have you back for at least a couple more episodes on this here Peacemaker review. And to the audience out there. Hey, thank you, sir. And to the audience out there, thank you for listening and have a good one.